All right, folks, welcome on back for another fantastic edition of our Traders Talk Workshop. This Monday, still November 11th. Great to have all of us back inside our live trading room. Kathleen, Michael, Grant. We had Wendy, Amy, Danny, Barbara, Margaret, Francisco. Got a lot of us just joining us inside our live trading room. Chuck's still calling out the SoFi trade, at least just from earlier. One of many stocks that we had on our morning watch list. Great to have all of us back, though, otherwise joining us on YouTube, Facebook Live, etc., etc. Look a little bit more professional today, not in my college basketball jersey, at least here. My Butler Bulldogs lost like a bye game, like versus Austin P, wherever they're from. Not good. Not a good start for my team, at least, but otherwise great to have all of us back inside our live trading room. Feel a lot better, at least. I was on my deathbed throughout last week, so feeling a lot better. Got a couple of hairballs that are coming out, but otherwise doing good. And with that, we've been doing really good on this Mara trade, among many other stocks that have been moving throughout the day today. So there is a lot to talk about, obviously, here. It's the purpose of this workshop, isn't it? Traders talk, right? So I want to talk about Mara. I want to talk about Bitcoin altogether, but I mean, there's plenty of others. I mean, HIMS ended up continuing to break out once again today. I know Chuck was on SoFi from earlier. I was as well. Ended up taking a loss and ended up jumping back in, and it was the run that we were looking for. So the whole theme of what we look for in a trade, I kind of compare myself to like one of those drawstring dolls, one of those Woody drawstring dolls. You have like the string from the back of the doll. It's like you say the same 5 catchphrases over and over. There's more to it than these underlying philosophies that we look for in a trade. There's more to it than just these catchphrases. My best entries to buy a stock are directly after it breaks through a big level on the way up. There's more to it than just that, right? We do need to look out for what's out there on level 3 and level 4. And, there could be a lot of things going on your screen. The way I like to phrase it for new traders joining us is, between the bright colors, the fast moving numbers, things can get pretty hectic, right? Especially when we have as big of a watch list as we have going into the market open today. So actually, to begin right away there, I post the watch list once more for all of us, like you're joining us live. What were there, like 12, 13 stocks on the freaking watch list there? A couple of Tesla ones on there, a few Bitcoin ones on there. But otherwise, again, we had Lunar, we had Palantir, we even had a short, right? We had SMCI. That was a decent little short to begin the morning. Ended up making a little dead cat bounce opportunity, trying a little scalp trade there. But otherwise, we've had a lot of opportunity all throughout. This is where I'll just tell you, focus on what you feel most comfortable in trading. You don't need to trade the shiny object in the room. You don't need to trade the stock that's up 500% on the morning in order to make money. You don't need to trade the Bitcoin stuff. If you don't like Bitcoin, you're going to hear me talk about it. Sorry, we're gonna talk about Bitcoin here. But if you don't like Bitcoin, hey, again, you had SoFi, you had HIMS, you had a plethora of different other trades and stocks that were moving throughout the morning today. So it's all the same strategy, right? It's all the same strategy that we look for in this HIMS stock as we had done on SoFi. So how about this? To begin, I got one of my cryptos right now taking off, popping. You'll see that in just a bit. But, I actually want to show you this right now. I actually don't have the HIMS and hers. I don't have that heat map up right now. I didn't delete it beforehand. Trust me, this is going to be my first look at what this order book looks like here for HIMS because, hey, it's easy to say, oh, it moved up. It's easy to say, oh, I could have bought this after the market opened up here. It's easy to say, oh, shortly after 10:30, if not right before 10:30, a little after 10:30, it ended up peaking, then pulling back, right? That's easy to say. But where were the levels? Where were the better levels that you could have entered from on this stock HIMS? Because we didn't put this on our main watch list. It was on our side list, and we love this stock as a swing trade. So finally today, it blew the lid off here on the daily chart like we were expecting over time. But, hey, in pre-market, it wasn't looking too great. It wasn't looking too trendy here going up. So it ended up taking off afterwards. Where were the best levels? We're going to find out in just a moment. I want to ask Michael and Wendy, Grant, all of our students live, for not a cheap stock. This is like a non-cheap, non-inexpensive stock. It's not like NVIDIA, but, $20 stock and above. What common set of price levels should we be more inclined to focus in on? Remember, this is not a cheap stock. But what set of price levels should we be most inclined to focus in on in order to find out where those iceberg orders are? What do we got? Iqbal says 50 cent levels. Sam says 50 cent dollar levels. What do we got? Eddie says $5 levels. Michael says 50-cent levels and whole numbers. Robbie says 50-cent levels. Michael just says whole numbers. So I will say, notice how I phrased the question. I'm not looking at a cheap stock here, right? So we're not doing every 50 cents. I would most likely just begin this looking at every dollar. So I would just do 25. I would do 24. I would do 23 if it were to drop that low. I would do 26 afterwards going up. All of those are instantly prices that stand out to me for anything like, I would even say above like $10, let alone 25. So I would just focus on whole number levels to begin. Now, there might be an iceberg at a 50-cent level, and then we have to plot a line there, right? Because, that's just an assumption. But we want to start with that. That's what we want to begin with here. Okay, so right away, this is obviously pretty easy to see. This one's not too hard here, but you just have big resistance at 25. It's sticking out there since 7:30 in the morning, right? 7:30 Eastern time going all the way into the market open. So you'd want to ask, okay, why is that order out there? Well, someone's trying to sell. Well, why is it out there for that long? You put yourself in the shoes of like a 5-year-old, of a 6-year-old, right? Why? Well, the reason that we focus in on this level is because if it were to break above this level, if there is enough demand to fill this price and then break above it, namely flip that into support, that would be an ideal opportunity to try and jump in. So that's the first thing that would stand out to me here on this trade. Notice that there really isn't even anything out there otherwise until like 28, let alone 30. $28, you got a little something here. You don't want to discount this. It's about like 9,000 shares, but then up top at 30, that's your next larger level. So for Eddie, that wrote even $5 levels there. I mean, yeah, you are correct. And you can never be incorrect when you look at that in that manner. Like for instance, like when we look at SoFi next, you can't go wrong with saying the $5 price levels, every $5 is a strong level. It might not be the next strong level, but those are definitely pretty big to focus in on, right? 25, then up top here, $5 later, 30. But I would say 25, and there's not much else out after that. Maybe there's something that will pop up once the market opens. Okay, so here we go. Market opens up. Here's the issue on this trade, right? And this is just where I'm transparent. Got Patrick joining us here. Got Charles R joining us from just before he did well pretty earlier. Ruslan's one of our new gold students, and Margaret. I shoot straight. I don't BS you here. So, hey, this was on our side list. It wasn't on our main list. I didn't jump into this trade after the market opened. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I would have jumped in right here when I broke over this level. I most likely would not have jumped in, right here when it broke over this level. Well, why not? I mean, that's exactly what you were just talking about, Josh, right? I mean, if it breaks over that level, if it breaks through a big level on the way up, that's what you're looking for, right? Let me ask all of our students, and especially if you're with us in like phases 2 and 3, and especially if you're like platinum or diamond level student, you should know this, but why would I not look to jump in right then and there? Why would I not look to take this trade? I mean, this looks perfect, right? Captain Hindsight speaking, this looks like it's about to, run right over 25, make this elaborate big move shortly after. What do we got here? Patrick says pullback. Lee says anticipate a slingshot, but let's just focus in on the time here, right? Let's just look at the time. It's like 9:31 in the morning, 9:32 in the morning. I just shoot straight, guys. I'm going to tell you the truth here. I wouldn't have taken this trade if I was watching it because it's within the first 5 minutes. I'm sorry. I follow my rules. I'm a stickler to my rule set. So you always hear me say it as well. Maybe if it's after the first 4 minutes, if it's like right after the first 4 minutes, leaning into the 5, all right, that, if it's there. But this is way above this level by the time it's at that point. So I would need to see the pullback, Patrick. I would need to see that, drop to try and anticipate support. But shit, you just don't get it, right? So what happens next? Like, where's our next big level from here? Well, you could focus in on 26. 26, there wasn't anything really showing here, right? There was nothing, but whole number level, right? That's our assumed level. And then here, there is about 18,000 that does pop up. It's like a little after the market opened up here. Let's see what happens. And we'll also look on the daily chart too. We'll just see what happened on the daily chart otherwise. But it's a shame. This doesn't pull back to try and flip 25 resistance into 25 support. Here we go. Perfect. Okay, this is exactly what you would want to have happen at least here. This does make a surprising blast over 26 though here. I wouldn't be so jumpy to take it right even here. As much as I just told you, my best entry is to buy a stock directly after it breaks over the level. The more times it could break over that level in a smaller concentration, in a smaller amount of time, then even better. So I'd probably still be a little hesitant here, waiting for one more. Shit, it just pops right above it. Now, this is where we can at least say when it breaks above this 26 level and runs up about 50 cents, it does afford you the opportunity to look for this under and over. And this would be the more ideal opportunity here in this situation based off of strategy and based off of what we go through on a day-to-day basis. So as far as a day trade, that entry, it's higher than what you would want to get in at, right? You can't always get what you want. I'm sorry, right? Like as much as we put ourselves in the shoes of a 6-year-old, right? We got to learn that lesson eventually. We can't always get what we want. So here we do at least. We get what we want eventually, though, right? So it eventually flips this 26 resistance into 26 support, and then it makes an even better move afterwards, right? I mean, hell of a pop up 2 points higher up to 28. There is some sort of iceberg that pops up here at 67 here, 27.67. There is one that pops up at 27.50. So there's more orders that join the book eventually, but you do have a pretty slick entry at first here. And then even if you had missed out initially from that point, I mean, I know it goes up more, but the same play. It's the same thing to be said. It's probably more so off of this combined area here, 27.50 that got broken over, and this as well, 27.67. The combination of those two together create a decent resistance. And it's just to say later on in the morning, this ended up providing another shot where it broke over this big level, right? More times in a smaller frequency, smaller time frame. This provides a pretty good breakout opportunity and gives you what you want later on here. So one entry, two entry, runs up to the next major level, Eddie, at $30, pretty much, right? Almost close. Oh, shit. Wrong thing. Wrong one. Wrong one. There we go. Got close to 30. Right? So, I mean, not all the way, but close enough to the point where it's 10:30 in the morning, even a little afterwards. It doesn't need to get up to 30. Doesn't need to even do any of this run today. It could have done it tomorrow, could have done it Wednesday. So as far as like expectations, it's moved up so much in the morning. It is after 10:30 at this point. So that's where I'd say you can never go broke taking a profit, even looking to scale half out and probably take it the rest of the out just as it's dropping off lower here. But otherwise, you make money on it. It's a great trade. And now at this stage, look what's happening. So I want to show you here. Let's see. So this resistance that this broke over this HIMS trade right now, in lieu of that, plus the VWAP acting as support altogether, there is a chance that this could look to try and hold this and then move up higher going into the afternoon. Maybe it dips into it, then back up. But there's still a shot here. There's still a good chance in which this HIMS trade could make a move back up and get up to 30 by end of the day today. We'll see. But, hey, if we just found that out on HIMS, if we just applied perfect strategy on this HIMS trade, even though it wasn't at $25, it was at $26, then here, I'm pretty sure that we could apply this on any of these other stocks, right? I mean, like SoFi from earlier that we did trade, that we did call out, that we were more on top of. I took a loss on this at first, then I ended up jumping in, getting it afterwards on the second chance. So SoFi, this one I'm more privy to at least, but it was mainly off of $14. So at first, $14, pretty simple, easy to see, right? 54,000 shares seller out there in pre-market. Now, at first, it ended up making a decent little move and it came back down. I tried jumping in a little bit afterwards here, and perhaps it was too early. I got a little excited on this, but I probably jumped in when I shouldn't have, because it smashed below this here as a support. And it was a little bit afterwards here at this point, so it breaks back over 14, but I would have expected resistance otherwise, and I just got too excited. So as it pushed up here, I jumped in at 1402, and then as it pulled back, I just kind of hit the close button right at like 1396, 1397. But it was quick, just in and out. I'm like, damn, okay, it might look to make a lower low eventually. I moved on to another stock, but otherwise, as it came back up, I called it back out again as it was pushing back above 14. So my next trade on this was the same level. It was just right place, wrong time here. Then I jumped back in right over 14 again, and this took me up pretty nice. I got out on half my trade. It was at like 1432, 1431. It was just right before we were finishing up the morning audio. And then the second half, as soon as this sell order came up, like, all right, there's a chance this might look to pull back. But I hung on to it a little bit longer, and it was like kind of even here right before 11 o'clock. I gave out on this trade as it pulled back. So it's money that I didn't have to begin the morning session. It was a nice little trade to begin. It was a day trade. I wasn't as confident about this, like continuing to make as good of a push compared to some of the others, just because this has had a pretty good move already here. Broke above resistance off of even like this trend line off the highs, and then $10 later on. It's already at 14. So there is a chance it could keep going up, but it's a slower moving stock. It's not something I wanted to hold on to throughout the day. Now at this point, there is a case for this to try and make a better push. We'll see what happens here. I'd probably say right off the CVP level right here where my cursor is. If it could flip that into support now at this point, then there's a good chance for this to try and make a move up to 1450, maybe even up to 15 like we had said. So it's kind of all hinging on this price here, I'd say, today. It's been chopping around it right now. It's been trying to hold it as support, been pretty chippy through it. So, it's over it right now. If it wants to make a better move up, it can't keep chipping around this big level. It's got to either explode off of it, or if it pulls back here, I would just say it's probably game over, right? A stock could always give you another chance, but you don't want to keep like bashing your head against the desk, looking for the same trade over and over and over. There's other moves out there. There's other stocks out there that are pushing up right now, right? I don't know about Tesla right now at this point, but I'm just kind of going through, right? There could always be another stock out there making a good push right now. Mara up to 24, as we said earlier. So that's where even here, if this thing's a little too slow, if it's not going to explode up, just be mindful of that. You don't want it to waste your time. All right, Patrick says first time breaking a big level. Well, yeah, that's the thing. I mean, especially on the first test of a big level, whether it got broken through as support, that's where I made my mistake on SoFi initially here. I should have expected resistance here. Got a little too bullish. So right place, wrong time. I don't mind eating the tiny loss, like 6 cent, 5 cent loss. But that's where, hey, if it makes that move again, I'll have the confidence to take it. And look what happened even afterwards. This is even easier to see without Bookmap, but hey, it broke over 14 and ran. And then right here, Patrick, first test of it afterwards as support, rightfully so. Oh my God, this is like taking candy from a kid, right? Under and over. And then from there, instantly pushed back up about 30 cents. So I'm not in the business of like scalping and taking these like teeny tiny little, but for me, I have an expectation on a trade. And if this 14 level had so much buying off of it, then don't you think it should make a pretty decent move off of it, a decent reaction off of it? That's my expectation every time. So that's where sometimes, hey, I'm not always going to be right, but I'm always going to save my ass knowing if it's not going to make that big move afterwards, it's going to make a big move just the other way, right? That's like another one of my drawstring catchphrases there, right? Like a Woody doll, I say the same 4 catchphrases over and over. Now, Grant says, no hurry for the first 4 or 5 minutes. Yeah, I mean, just going back to that, hey, this popped right out the gate here on SoFi, but there is an easier opportunity based off of level play. That's what we're more focused on, level to level, or at least seeing what happens from one level to the next, right? Let's just check social media here. Again, just at Cyber Trading U if you're new to our YouTube channel, X, Instagram, etc. at Cyber Trading U, Cyber Trading University there on Instagram, though, otherwise. Look to follow, subscribe to our channels always. But, SoFi, what else did we have today? I mean, we can go into Bitcoin. I'm not trying to bore you to death with Bitcoin stuff right now, right? We got a bunch of us that were more focused on other moves. But I'll tell you what, I mean, we have to for a second here because Mara is still poking away at this 24 level and holding higher lows. So I guess like not to dig into Bitcoin as much. It's just more the lesson I want to go over today of lower highs don't mean anything without a lower low, right? So if you're trying to short, I don't know what your objective is. What are you trying to accomplish? Like doing this here on Mara, on hell, you could say not even Bitcoin stuff, but like freaking PLTR. If anyone's bearish on PLTR, what are you doing? The stock's breaking all-time highs. Maybe there was a chance for this eventually to make a lower low after a lower high, like I don't know, like right here. Like this is the last time even. Lower high from this peak, dropping down a bit. Did this end up eventually breaking this point here and filling the gap going down? Did it eventually do that? No. Was there money to have been made on the way down here eventually? Maybe, but there's just more meat to take off the bone going up if it's not going to make a lower low, right? Lower highs are nothing without a lower low. So that's where I say on the flip side of things, higher lows are nothing without a higher high, right? But on the flip side of it, at least here on Mara, I think a couple of us were talking about shorting the Mara trade, Bitcoin stock. If it makes a lower low, if it's not doing that, it's not even to say you're wasting your time, but you're probably going to be losing money on certain trades. You might be able to make a few pennies here or there, but I would say this on any other sector. It's not just me being pro Bitcoin, but you're just wasting your time, So, hey, on the flip side of it, what if there's a stock that's down 85% on the morning? Could that be a good dead cat bounce? Could that be a good move back up a little bit? Yeah, it could be if it makes a higher high, right? If it makes a higher high, higher lows mean nothing for a stock like that without it breaking a higher high, because you're not going to see any sort of good momentum then at that point. That's kind of where I bring to you one of my other like drawstring catchphrases. It's like, laying over support doesn't make us money. When a stock breaks resistance and runs, resistance should flip, right? Just go back to SoFi for that one. If this just laid over $14 here and did nothing, I'd be like, what's going on? We got an issue here. Something's broken, right? This made a pretty good move at least to begin. So that's what you would want to see. Now for Mara, to go back to this, gapped up, maybe there's a chance it could drop back down a bit, but this is in lieu of Bitcoin breaking all-time highs. So, it's not to say that Mara as a company is breaking all-time highs. It definitely is not. This is not even nowhere close to the long-term graph here altogether, right? Like this is it all the way back to 2012, probably even more. But, it's just to say at least, when you're looking at Bitcoin here now, just I don't know why anyone would want to short this. The only reason someone would want to short this is if they are like against it. Like if they're like anti-Bitcoin, the idea, like don't take trading so personal, right? For anyone again that took trading personally during the election, I'm more on the Democratic side, I would say, right? Because obviously Trump won. If it was the other side, it would be the same to be said. If Kamala won, then anyone that took trading personally from the Republican side, they'd be ripping their hair out. So this is just where here you can't take it personal, but when this is breaking all-time highs, who the hell is trying to short this? You know what I mean? So, if it breaks below like 83,500 here, if it breaks this like little local support here, if it breaks this little dip point, maybe there's a chance for it to drop. Like, yeah, but otherwise, the more you're even thinking about this and trying to map it out and game plan it, and it's going up and up and up, you're just wasting your time. And we know, just like Michael and Grant and Patrick and Iqbal and a lot of us, Margaret and Wendy and a lot of us here said, wait the first 5 minutes after the market opens. The cyber clock. The cyber. So, from 9:30 to 10:30, we should be more anticipating a move up. Let's go back to Tesla. Hey, if you're so bearish on Tesla here, did it end up breaking a lower low? There is one entry maybe off of $350, and this actually fit what I would have at least looked for. I guess broke over then under. It actually did that there. So there could have been, in lieu of strategy, a potential entry, but I normally wouldn't be doing that crap. It's just to say if this were to make a lower low, then yeah, there could be a chance. Did it make a lower low here? It broke below support. In my eye here, this would have been a decent opportunity, but if it's not going to flip that into resistance and continue to drop, like right here is looking good. Okay, nice, dropping, shoots back up. You're like, okay, well, come on, let's keep dropping. Let's keep breaking lower. If this support level here isn't going to flip cleanly into resistance, that's where it's going to flip back into support cleanly. It's going to make that big move back up. So that's where at least you don't want to be on the wrong side of a short either way, but it's just you want to focus on direction. It's the same thing with the Intel trade from the end of last week. Now that I remember this off the top of my head, um, if I can get the level, if I can get the right price and the level and all that shit. But Intel had a good gap fill opportunity from the end of last week, and we were focused in on that. But it was actually looking like a good short, and I went short at first, and then I ended up actually flipping my position. Yeah, I was right here. Yep. Right here. I think it was like pretty much off of 424.30 or something. Yeah, it was right here actually. It was this point. So I went short here looking for that lower low. It broke below the support. I felt pretty confident on it. Started off okay, but it's a slow stock. You got to see better than that. You got to see better than just a few stinking pennies. Is this a big move shortly after? No, it's not. Thankfully, this wasn't an instant false breakdown and shot back up in one candle. It gave me the time to analyze this and realize, well, shoot, if it's not going to make a big move going down, then there's only one other way it's going to make a big move, and that's up. And that's where I actually reversed this trade, took it going up, and it was the correct move there, filling the gap on the daily chart. So, hey, on the flip side of that, is it possible to short some of these trades? Yeah, but I would only want to short it if it were to make a lower low. And this did not make any sort of lower low after the open, at least. Higher low, higher low, higher low. I said it earlier on the mic. I'm like, this is like tougher than a $5 steak. This thing was as brutal as can be to get that pop afterwards, but it played by our rules. It played by the trends, right? We follow the trend. So it's not like it's our rule. It's, just following the trend. The trend is your friend, right? Trend is your friend here, right? So the stock's still making higher lows right now. Obviously, it's in lieu of Bitcoin, but just to mention, it takes us going into the late morning, early afternoon here. So the more this can stab and test over 24, the same rules will apply here as they did on SoFi, as they did on as they did on HIMS. But here, the more times it tests 24 in a smaller time span, you're looking great. You're looking really good. So just keep that in mind. I mean, that's just for any of these trades here. We got a couple earnings coming out this week. So I think like Rocket Lab, we got Soon. Is HIMS reporting this week? Got my earnings calendar right here. I'll show that right now. I don't see it. Maybe they just recently did. So we got Soon reporting tomorrow afternoon. We got a bunch of stuff. We got Marrow reporting tomorrow afternoon. That's gonna be crazy. TerraWolf, that's a big one coming up here too. They've been on a great upswing. Big AI company, nuclear company, obviously blockchain, Bitcoin mining company. You got others too, though. You got Hive, you got Hut, other mining companies as well. You got OKLO, nuclear company, ASTS. Remember that stock? We crushed it on that trade back earlier this year. Fausto and Disney, he's experienced with trading Disney as a short and killed it on that trade. Billy, we got a bunch of earnings coming out throughout this week. So just be on the lookout for that. At least here from Mara going into the afternoon, it's all about 24. Just seeing this try and retest, re-break over that 24 level, and we'll go from there. Robbie says HIMS reported earnings on November 4th. Okay, so it was like last week. It was a week ago then, right? Last Monday. All right. So that's right. That's right. Because they did have I think they had a beat, if not mistaken. They dropped recently. HIMS dropped recently because of the Novo news about their semaglutide, whatever drug being debanned or whatever it was. But obviously, that's not going to take a huge effect into this trade if they're reporting good financials, if they already have a pretty healthy daily chart, long-term chart, and only took a matter of days before they got back up, broke higher. So yeah, that HIMS trade's looking pretty good. All right, so I want to get to a question here that came in from private chat earlier. I want to make sure I don't miss it here from Yehuda. So this was on more NVIDIA than anything. So we could relate it to any other stock, but he was kind of just asking about NVIDIA, saying, it has like a $2 million order at $150. So it came crashing down earlier. And he was saying, like, maybe you can cover this coming up in Traders Talk, what it would be like a nice swing trade setup would be like here. So he's looking for a swing trade, I guess, on NVIDIA, right? Um, so let's just go over the generics for a swing trade. Higher lows, higher highs. It's as simple as that, right? I mean, again, that's where I was saying earlier, DJT, yes, I'm going to talk about Trump again, folks. Like him or hate him, I focus on the charts. Don't focus on him. Don't focus on your political opinion, my political opinion. No one cares about any of that. Focus on the chart. And this chart, I mean, there's not much going on here. It's not making higher highs. Maybe support is building, potentially. Looks a little sloppy. If you look on the weekly chart, this thing looks messy, right? Now, compare this to like Apple. Apple, higher lows, higher highs, still making higher low for the most part. Had a crazy downwick here on this weekly candle back earlier this year. That may have been from the Japanese yen carry, but it's still making higher lows. Is there a chance for this to make a higher high then? Absolutely. Now, if this starts making a lower low, then it's like, okay, you definitely got to watch out. Now, if we get back to NVIDIA, this is like the sharpest looking chart throughout the whole market. One of them, at least, right? I mean, HIMS is probably in line next for that. But, NVIDIA's long-term here back from the beginning of 2023. Broke out again, a little dip, but broke out further, higher low here, going up. Like, this is exactly what you want to see in any just common swing trade setup. Doesn't need to be breaking all-time highs. Doesn't need to be, breaking all-time highs and the best performer in the whole market to have this. I mean, just look at MSTR, right? I mean, this is at 322 right now. This is actually now pretty close to breaking its own all-time highs, but that's where I was going to get to. Its real all-time high is 333 back in the dot-com bubble. But that doesn't mean that it was a bad swing trade here, right? This was breaking higher highs at that point. Good resistance here for the most part, loosely speaking at like 89, 88 and change. All right, as soon as it blasts that, closes above it, looks pretty good to me, and that created support afterwards. But that's just generally speaking what you're looking for in any sort of swing trading opportunity. Now here with NVIDIA, all right, well, this is at all-time highs. So what do we do? So there's no historical ceiling to work with. This is where you would want to focus in on those $5 levels, right? Pretty expensive stock. So focus on those $5, 140, 145, then like Yehuda said, 150. So he's on point with that. And that's just something you would assume to begin with. But he just went the next step and he saw it on Bookmap. So we'll show that coming up. Just want to plot these lines here, Yehuda, in a second. So yeah, it looks like back from the end of last week got close to it, didn't it? From Friday. Whew, got about 24 cents shy, 23 cents shy. 149.77 was the high back from Friday. There could have been some pre-market activity involved too, but find out. Nope. Yeah, I mean, I guess it got like really close at the crack of dawn back on, I think, like Friday last week, at 4 in the morning or some shit like that. Look at that, 149.89, 149.94, got right there. But yeah, generally speaking, held resistance, came back down. Do I not have NVIDIA up here too? Get a raw reaction here. So I didn't have NVIDIA up on my heat map as well. You'll see what kind of my reaction is to all these levels, but no surprise. And Yehuda is correct. Still looks like about 2 million shares exactly. That's a massive sell order out there. So very good point from our Diamond student Yehuda. So, that's been up there since pre-market, probably back up there from Friday. I can't go back that far, unfortunately, but hey, you don't want to fly too close to the sun, right? Even though this is breaking all-time highs or has been, you don't want to try and buy right underneath 150. And even on the first test of this as resistance, not even here, I mean like during the regular session, the first regular session test of 150, it should look to hold. First test is the best test, meaning like if it breaks above it, just expect for it to be a false breakout. Expect for it to come back down after. And then from there, the same strategy, the more times, and especially on a day-to-day basis. So, it might have to take a number of days or weeks for that breakout over 150 to materialize. If it happens sooner than later, then you try and look for that 150 flip from resistance into support. Now that's just only off 150. There's plenty of other prices here that we need to focus in on. So 145, just loosely speaking, it's chipping around it right now. If the markets pull back heading into the afternoon here, looks like lower highs of its own, needs to make a lower low. But should that happen, Nvidia is likely going to go with it then, right? So in that case, you might want to look out for like 140 as a potential support level coming up here. It dipped down here going back into like Wednesday last week and shot up. You'd want to see it hold above that, and that's in line with 140. So I would be a little hands off on Nvidia for right now, just because I feel like the market's moved up so much just from last week. You might look to see a little dip, maybe even if it's a false lower low. You might get that at first, and then that could shock the market and have like Nvidia pull back a bit, like Apple pull back a bit, whatever it may be. Now, that's just a loose thought. That's just me kind of talking out my ass. Is that going to happen? I have no idea. I'm just telling you what to look for in the event in which that does happen. I think that this week, I think that you have the CPI report coming out, right? So that's even like what, Wednesday this week or Thursday this week? You got CPI, PPI, you got all the other financial stuff coming out this week. So another chance for Powell to talk. You hear about that? Powell ended up saying like, no, like, hey, if Trump asks you to leave, what would you do? He's like, no. That was just only response, right? Everyone see that? Balls on that guy. It makes him more of a cult lore hero in the FinTwit world. But it'll be interesting to see what happens, obviously, long term with him. But it's just to say, who knows what's going to happen this week with the CPR report, right? If it's a pretty bullish number, then you might just get the pop right away and no pullback. So that's where I just say here, be careful of just lower high, lower low. And I think that 140 as a decade level number, $10 type number, that has some more standing to it in my mind as potential dip point there for support. All right, folks, I think that I'll tell you what, that's all I wanted to get off my plate, off my chest here. If there's anything else that looks good from your side of things, let me know. But I think that we're going to wrap up here otherwise. Check my inbox here. I did before. Well, how about this? Just want to give her a quick shout out just because I'm checking my inbox right now. So I'm going to go over this on our next coaching session, at least with Roseanne, but a quick shout out to her. Oh my God. So one of our students, Roseanne, she does more options than stock. I don't know. She'll answer that for me, but just to say that she did, I think on MSTR, some option calls, and she held from Thursday and Friday into this morning. She bought it for $8.40 per contract, sold it for $38.40 per contract. Crazy freaking move there, right? So another big winner in the Bitcoin market here for us. I know a bunch of us jumped in on like IBIT, whether it was MSTR, whether it was even Robinhood, of course, as well. That was a huge winner from the last 3 weeks, month or so. And, it's even over my historical level here too. But quick shout out to Roseanne. I just got her email right now. I was fishing through for Traders Talk stuff, but I just saw it right here. I'm like, wow, it's a hell of a profit from Roseanne there. So yeah, anyone else that's doing well in the Bitcoin stuff, I mean, you've got to be up big. Quick shout out to one of our staff members here, John Romano. John's crushing it, I know right now too on it. Yeah, absolutely, Phil. Now here, this is what I'll tell you though. Going into this afternoon, look what's happening. Just a small talking point before we wrap up, at least for right now, but it goes to say that certainly we can make money in a down market, right? Bitcoin's going up, but the SPY's dropping, right? So it's not even just the Bitcoin stuff, right? We crushed it on HIMS. We crushed it on PLTR earlier, the SoFi trade. There's probably plenty more else out there otherwise. But I was looking for the SPY to pull back into this area going into the day today. I kind of forgot. So I got out of a bunch of like option calls like going into the weekend because they're set to expire for Friday. So I wasn't going to exercise them, but it was just that I got out and I forgot that today, of course, is Veterans Day. And I made the quick mention earlier just for all of us that had joined us in the morning meeting. I should have mentioned it at least, of course, before. I've been late to the party, at least here on 2 times on my streams today. So once more, happy Veterans Day to anyone that has proudly served our country and courageously protected us, over the many years, but of course, beginning from World War I all the way through. I know this goes across several countries throughout the world, like Armistice Day, Remembrance Day, etc. Again, on the flip side of it, in April, I think there's Anzac Day in New Zealand. So, of course, most countries throughout the world celebrate their veterans, their armed forces. So, wanted to shout that out as well. But of course, with today being a Veterans Day, it's not a market holiday; it's a bank holiday. And where I'm getting to here is I was a dodo and I forgot about that from the end of last week, and I got out of my trades not knowing that. So I wasn't able to do any of my options stuff. I did all my day trading normally with stocks, but I wanted to try and jump in on the SPY here if it were to pull back to this point here today. And we might get that sooner than later. So, going into the afternoon, just so you know, I'm going to look for a bounce on the SPY. I won't be able to take it on my option calls right now. I'll have to wait till tomorrow, but whatever. Just to say, like for you, like right around 598, a little underneath, that could be a strong support level looking for a bounce. Ended up breaking lower a little earlier here. So for right now, that still stands. I think there's a good case to get a bounce at least here at first. Now, if it hits this, bounces, and then makes another stinking lower high and comes back down again, that's where you got to be careful because I'm looking for a strong reaction off of that area. It was pretty much the first three of these lines. Pretty much like right there, I'd say. Falls into a web of support. So you don't know if it's going to be all four, but I would assume it's going to be more within the middle of these two. So, yeah. Yep, exactly, Sam. It's a bond holiday, bank holiday as well. All right, what do we got here? Coin going off. I got a bunch of us talking about coin. All right, hey, if you want me to talk about Bitcoin, you want me to start babbling about Bitcoin again, I will. You know I don't have any problem with that. I'm teasing, of course. I'm teasing. For any of my anti-Bitcoiners, I try and make it obviously more catering to you as well. But obviously here though, Bitcoin on the way up to 85,000. Now, if you're joining us on YouTube, joining us on social media, you got at Cyber Trading U, which is of course Cyber Trading University. Follow us on all of our streams and platforms alike there, especially YouTube. That's where we post all of our main videos and whatnot. This workshop, all of our clips, etc. But also on X, myself, it's CTU Josh. So, every now and then we'll post from both accounts, just different heat maps, different pictures, and so forth. So with that there, I mean, follow us both, Cyber Trading U, CTU Josh right here. You got Bitcoin making a move up towards 85,000. You got about 370 Bitcoin out there on the sell side. I would assume the first test would be the best test. But you know what? Let's see what happens here because just earlier, actually on CTU Josh, I posted this just before. You had a pretty interesting development here. This ended up breaking over 83,000, but it didn't break over this sell order. Actually, most of that sell order got stripped from the book. Notice it goes from like 112 Bitcoin here, like 112.75. That's like the amount of Bitcoin. You could do it in fractional numbers, etc. So 112.75 Bitcoin on the ask at 83,000. There was 318 nearly just a moment ago there. And it didn't fill that order. So that actually got pulled from the book right before it ended up moving up to that price and broke over it eventually later. So actually, I was like commenting both on social media and to our students inside our live trading room. What happens when you have like instant selling pressure that just gets relieved, right? Typically that's pretty bullish. So it led to a huge pop pretty much immediately afterwards, moved up to 85,000 now. So with that, I think that a lot of us are saying Coinbase is making a hell of a pop right now. My Mara trade better be going. Still off of 24. Damn. I would have expected this to have been the move right here. It's testing it right here. This is actually like a pretty good amount of times in a smaller instance. So be careful on Mara in case if it can't get back over 24. It's still holding the higher low game, but man, again, it's like tougher than like a $5 stake. It's doing the same shit it was doing here. So this is where you got to be careful, at least on Mara. But otherwise, what do we got? I got Coinbase taking off right now, guys. So otherwise, yeah, we'll take a look. What do we got here? Coinbase. 335, big resistance here. I don't know if that just showed up or if that was there throughout the morning, but I mean, it pulled back a few minutes ago here. So about 4 or 5 minutes ago, it started to pull back, but still making higher lows, still trying to do its thing. I would expect a false breakout off 85,000 at first, and then maybe you get a small dump. Listen, I mean, Bitcoin ended up running up from what, like 78,000 up to 85 over the weekend. So, people are going to rotate. People are going to take profits. People are going to go into other different coins. Like this is one coin I'm a big fan of right now. I'm a fan of a few, but Avalanche, AVAX, it's another crypto. I'm basically in from like right around here. Moving up. That I will show you actually on my other platform here. Oh, I'm sorry, it's not from there. I got out and then I got back in. So this is my entry price, but I'm in on this at least here. 32.32. As it ended up pushing back up, I got back in on it, and then from there it took off. So we're looking pretty good either way. But nevertheless, I mean, all of crypto is going to look to go up. Coinbase here is still holding higher lows. And again, I can't stress this enough. This is the theme for any one trade. You need to follow just simple direction. I'm not trying to short anything in speculation, right? Could I be right with speculation? Yeah. Could I be wrong with speculation? Yeah. And how could I be wrong with speculation? Because I don't have as much confirmation with speculation, right? I was speculating that CLSK got bought out because they had some T12 halt. I was wrong. I had egg in my face after, right? So, with that, that's just where you say if you don't have like clear confirmation, then it's harder for you to make that conviction, right? So right now, is it likely for CLSK to pop right now? Not fully. It's not making higher highs. It's not blasting over this 213,000 share sell order at 17 bucks. Is it possible it could? Yeah. Okay. Well, if you're speculating that, this actually is a pretty good level to try and do it from right here, 1650. I mean, sticks out pretty nicely here on CVP column. Well, it broke over it here as resistance. It moved off of it a bit. It's got to hold it as support now. If it doesn't hold and if it breaks lower, then you're out of luck. You got to just take the loss and just be wrong with your speculation. But at least in the sense of seeing resistance get cleanly broken through the first time, it runs nicely after. Well, that's where, hey, even on the SPY, I'm looking for this to hold as support at first. Like we said on SoFi, that 14 resistance flipped at least into 14 support at first. It's back down to it again right now. That's not good. It started off great. Lower highs. If it's going to break lower here, then you're out of luck, right? That's just how you have to play trading. And if you decide not to play trading that way, I don't want to just sit here and be like, that's on you. I mean, normally that would be my reaction, right? If we're going to be as stubborn as possible, it's like, I don't know what to tell you. You can lead the horse to water, but if you can't force to drink, it's just to say that we're not going to make money. We're not going to be successful traders in this market if we're not going to respect simple trend. Simple as that. All right, folks. So, hey, we are going to finish up Traders Talk, at least for right now. If you have any last questions or comments, sentiments in chat right now, let me know in social media or inside our live trading room. What was the, oh, yeah, absolutely. Just got a chat right now from Wendy. So what was the crypto, Wendy? Avalanche, AVAX. So I'll type that out in the chat board right now to all of us here, main chat. I'll do it in order. I'm going to do it in order of what I like the most. The not Bitcoin coins, right? The altcoins, as they call them. So, speaking to a group of non-Bitcoin friendly people, or at least those that aren't as much in the know. So I'll just tell you, these are all the tinier coins that are in crypto that are not Bitcoin. I'm just going to type out a couple to you here if I can just think of them off the top of the head here. That's in order right there. That's in order of what I like the most to, not least. I mean, all of those I actually really like. I'm talking about Cardano, Phantom, Avalanche, Solana, and Ethereum. This is in order for me. This is like my preference. This is my cup of coffee. This is what I like. If you've been with us for like 4 years, then perhaps you're familiar with ADA because I was really big about it last bull market. I'm actually as big about it now than ever because the guy behind ADA is set to work with the Trump administration on crypto. So that's already pumped up like 50% this weekend. Aside from that, though, all of these are good. This is the one I'm referencing, though, right now, Wendy, the one that I took a position on Coinbase, Avalanche, right? But yeah, if you want to know anything more about crypto, any questions about the mining stocks, anything about IBIT, which I'm a part of. So again, keep in mind, Mara here on the top right here, you have my position manager. Mara, I'm in on as a day trade. I'm not swing trading that right now. Iron is a hold. I've been holding on to this thing for a little while now. I've been down, or I was underwater for a little bit, about like 75, 80 cents a share underwater at first, but then it popped back up. We're going to hold on. Then IBIT, that's the one I've been screaming to you about to buy pretty much from the jump. So, I think there's good reason to think that this is going to be programmed to try and get up to $100. Just, from my lips to this chart. All right, folks. Hey, we are going to finish up, at least for right now, here at Traders Talk. We do this every Monday afternoon at Cyber Trading U. Be a friend, tell a friend, hit the follow or subscribe button on our YouTube channel. Once more, at Cyber Trading U. Follow us there. Follow us on Twitter there as well as at C2 Josh. Again, we do this workshop every Monday afternoon, 12 o'clock Eastern. And then, hey, we'll be back. We'll be back on the mic inside our live trading room just later on today. If not myself, you got Rich taking you going into the afternoon. I'll probably be here glued to my desk watching Bitcoin, right? Can't really expect much else from me there, but otherwise, folks, we'll be calling them out as we see them. So if you see something, say something, we will do the same, and we'll be back later on today, just this afternoon.